To order, since it's so unruly out there. Today is the 5th of July. Hope everybody had a great holiday. Let the record show that Commissioner Briscoe is out of town today, but will be on the phone, not just
Commissioner
phone.
Briscoe, welcome.
Yes, Diane, how are you this afternoon?
We're fine, thank you. We're right here, ready to get going here.
All right, Commissioner Briscoe, this is McCauley. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine, Commissioner McCauley.
We can check in.
Commissioner Robbins, can you hear me?
Everyone.
I can hear you just fine, Dan, very loud and clear.
Okay, great. So Commissioner Briscoe's fishing, I think he's in Alaska right now? Okay.
I'm in Ketchikan, Alaska.
There you go. All right, so let's see here. I like to read these. We have some advisory committee meetings coming up. The Bellingham International Airport Advisory Committee meeting, the BIAC, next one Tuesday, July 14th, 5 p.m. at the GA, the General Aviation Conference Center at the airport. The Technical Airport Advisory Committee's the same day, July 14th, 9:30 a.m., same place. And the next Marina Advisory Committee meeting is Tuesday, September 13, 2016, 6 p.m. in this room at 1801 Roeder Avenue. All right, so let's start with public comment. Does anybody sign up, Diane? Hang on. We'll see if
No one has signed up yet?
Okay, all right then.
Anyone?
In that case, we will just move right into, well, I should ask, is anybody didn't sign up that wanted to say anything right now? Okay, all right, then we'll move into our consent agenda. Diane, please.
A motion to approve consent agenda items A through I.
All right, any discussion about any particular item? Let's start with Commissioner Briscoe.
No, I had questions on item E, but Adam answered those earlier today, so I have none.
Okay. Commissioner Robbins?
I had no questions.
Okay, and I've got a quick question. I thought I had a question about the granary memorandum. Yeah, I don't quite understand the purpose of those memorandums. Can you explain those real quick, Rob?
Yeah, the master development agreement calls for, and Sylvia, jump in here if you want to add anything to this, but the master development agreement calls for Harcourt to make specific proposals to the use of the buildings prior to the project being under construction. This one, we're kind of probably a little late.
Okay, that's, okay. So I'll ask a question about these sorts of things in our new business later, so far, that's good. Okay, that explains it. Anything further, Commissioner Briscoe?
No.
Okay, Mr. Robbins?
I have nothing.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries 3-0. And we are going to jump right into our updates. Tamara's going to present this, and I think we'll also be hearing from our auditors, the state auditors, I should say.
Month, and we've got
Okay, good.
the state auditors here to report those results to you. That mic is loud. So I'd like to introduce Dina Garza. She's the acting audit manager. Arden Flores is the assistant audit manager, and Jordan Helms was our audit lead this year. And I'll be available for questions after if you have any.
Commissioner Briscoe, can you hear, did you hear Tamara just now?
Absolutely, just fine, just loud and clear.
Great, all right. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon. So again, my name is Dina Garza, and I'm the acting audit manager for our team. We have a packet here today, so there should be blue packets that we've provided with 4 individual items within them. It starts with basically what we consider our agenda, which I'll walk through what we have today, including the reports. We've started bringing drafts of our reports so we can show you what we're presenting to the public. Again, our annual audit and what we've done pretty commonly for you. We have an accountability audit, a financial statement audit. For 2015, the port required a federal grant compliance audit, so we performed that. And then as well as the agreed upon procedure for the passenger facility charges. So we'll be talking to the results for all of those. Again, as far as our exit conference, it's for us to explain the scope of our audit, what we did, answer any questions you have there, as well as go through the results and make sure that those are clear. So I'll go ahead and pass it off to the auditors who did more of the on-site work and can explain the reports and tell you what is in those. Okay?
Great, so now we're talking about the first of the audit reports. So it should be the one that says accountability audit report on the front. So I don't want to spend too much time here. Basically, it's a clean accountability audit. But if everybody would turn to page 4 of this accountability audit report. So the first part is just where we communicate the results of the audit. And basically, results and belief, this is the way we're communicating. In the areas we audited, port operations complied with applicable requirements and provided adequate safeguarding of public resources. The port also complied with state laws and regulations and its own policies and procedures in the areas we examined. Basically, that's the language for a clean audit. Had there been any findings or management letters, this is where we would have put additional language in there to mention that. The next part of this report is what we covered in our accountability audit. So the bullets in the bottom is the different areas that, and we're happy to say we were able to cover all those areas that we mentioned during the audit entrance information. So the first bullet is the Open Public Meetings Act, something that we always cover in every audit, compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Facility rentals is our follow-up. There was a management letter recommendation during the prior audit, specifically in the control deficiencies noted in the events and meetings department. We followed up on it and glad to communicate as well that those have all been addressed. Leasing activities, we try to cycle through the port's major operations periodically. Leasing is one of the areas covered this year. We selected several leases. We compared the revenues that were collected to what we expected based on our recalculation of terms and provisions of the contract agreement, based on what the increases is noted on the contract agreements, based on the way the concessions are supposed to be calculated as part of the additional fees to be tacked on. And again, those all came out clean, no recommendations. And last part is just the cash receipting review. Basically, our focus here is on the marina, Squalica Marina, and then the parking revenues at the airport, where we reviewed basic receipting and cash handling sections. And again, no recommendations as well. So good job. Thank you. So that is basically, that covers our accountability audit for 2015. And again, it's a clean audit. And so Jordan will speak to the other parts of our audit scope.
All right, so if you want to take a look at the next packet you have there, it's the big thick one. This is financial statement and federal single audit report. The first page is just an introduction, and there's a table of contents after that. Really on page 4 is again where it gets started. So this page is really a summary of our financial audit and our federal audit, just the results of that. So as you can see there, we are not reporting any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses for either our financial statement audit or for our federal audit. The next page shows the major program that we audited for our federal audit. It was the Airport Improvement Program. And then, again, finishing up the summary there, it says that there were no financial statement findings and no federal award findings or question costs. The next page gets into our, so that's page 6. So that is our report on internal controls. It really just goes into the scope of our gaining an understanding of internal controls for planning our audit. At the top of page 7, the very last the third paragraph down, it says, we noted certain matters that we have reported to the management of the port in a separate letter dated June 28, 2016. That's a management letter we'll be reporting, and I'll get to that in just a couple of minutes once we get through this report. The rest of that page just has complaints and other matters. It says that there were no instances of non-compliance that we identified that are required to be reported. If you flip to the next page, page 9, that is a report for our federal audit. So it goes through and it talks about management's responsibility to be in compliance with statutes and regulations, our responsibility to express an opinion on compliance, And then the next page, page 10, gives our opinion on each major federal program. Like I mentioned before, it was just one program. And there in the middle of the page, it says the port complied in all material respects with the type of compliance requirements that we audited. So basically a clean report, clean federal report here. The next page, page 12, is the report on our audit of the passenger facility charge program. So again, very similar, our responsibility to audit the program and provide an opinion. The top of page 13 gives our opinion on compliance. Again, this also has a very a clean audit opinion. It says the port complied in all material respects with the requirements that we audited to. And then it also discusses our internal control, gaining an understanding of internal controls. Then the next report we have there on page 15 is our actual report on the financial statements. Again, our responsibility to express an opinion on those financial statements. Page 16 has our opinion on the financial statements. The financial statements do present fairly the financial position of the port. At the bottom of page 16, where it says required supplementary information, that's our opinion on the management discussion and analysis, and then required pension plan data that is new to be required with the port's financial statements due to new accounting standards. And so there's a clean opinion on that there. And then supplementary and other information gives our opinion on the schedule of expenditures of federal awards and the schedule of passenger facility charges. And that's our opinion there is that it's clean in relation to the financial statements. The next page, you'll see it lists all of the port's financial statements, and this is where in our audit report that will be published on our website, we will include all of the port's financial statements, and so they will be there following the report. And then there's just some contact information and other information on the back page of that report. So I mentioned earlier that we are reporting a management letter. So if you look at the final piece of paper that I provided to you, the front page is really just an introduction, and then the back page explains what the management letter is. So we have a management letter. There was a calculation error related to the environmental remediation liability. It was a significant amount. However, since it did not rise to the level of a finding, it appears to be an isolated error related specifically to that balance. And we didn't identify any other issues with journal entries or their review that's performed by the port. Also, this error was fully corrected by the port as well. I'll give you a second to look through that. I know I went through it kind of quickly. Let me know if you have any questions about what I just said.
How much was that error?
It was $5.6 million, which it is material to the financial statement. But like I mentioned before, since it was just one single error, there were not other errors that we identified as well. And since it was fully corrected, it did not rise to the level of a finding.
When was it corrected? After you found it or before?
As soon as we identified it, it was immediately corrected.
Okay. Commissioner Briscoe, you have any questions for these folks?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Any further from you, Dan?
Nothing.
All right, I've only got a couple. It's mentioned earlier about looking at Squalica Marina. Did you look at Blaine Harbor as well, or just Squalica Marina?
I can go ahead and address that. In the prior audit, we looked at cash receipting at both marinas. We had a couple of specific recommendations related to Squalica Marina. So we just did a follow-up in this audit to see what had been done, and they'd made some really good changes to address recommendations that we'd brought up.
Okay, all right. And this question next two maybe for Rob. It was, I think, Susan that was handling. Did she look at the grants paperwork? Did that go through her desk?
Depends. Some of them did. Some went through Dodd's office, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, so.
Which grants are you talking about specifically?
Well, I was at federal grants.
FAA grants, those are handled in accounting, not by Susan. So we handle those in our finance department.
Okay. Does finance look at every one of those grants that we handle here?
Does finance look at every one of the grants?
Yes.
Yes, they're processed through the finance department.
Okay, so even though it comes through different departments, eventually it ends up at essentially at your desk.
Absolutely.
At some point in the process.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And then one final question for Rob, on the financial reporting, maybe you folks might weigh in as well. What, it was, the environmental remediation liability, it's going to be a long-term issue for the port to work through all of the cleanup processes. Can you explain what that 5.6 million, what was that all about?
I can explain it. I did it. So every year we do the environmental remediation liability adjustment, up or down. And it's a real simple calculation. You add A plus B plus C. I added A plus B plus A.
Okay.
Did catch it. Claire.
It's good to know it was understated, not overstated.
Yeah. All right, cool.
What's the largest cash? Is it airport parking that we handle?
Yes,
That's,
by far.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Anything further from you, Commissioner Briscoe?
No.
Okay, Mr. Ross?
No, I have nothing.
Okay, I don't have anything further, so thank you also very much. Again, is there anything further from you folks?
Just a couple more things
Okay,
really quick.
let's hear it.
If I can just bring your attention back to the first document that we handed out that says exit conference, Port of Bellingham at the top of it, the single page. It says financial statement required communications. These are just things we're required to bring to your attention. There were no uncorrected misstatements in the audited financial statements. And then the only material misstatement that we identified is the one that we just discussed with you. And as I mentioned before, it was fully corrected. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dina.
Yeah. So on the back page of that, kind of our concluding comments, it addresses any recommendations that are not included on our audit reports. And so it includes that management letter that, again, Jordan just referenced. And then the exit items. There were some minor exit items that we've discussed in detail with management. We've moved away from discussing them in a meeting like this because they tend to be very minor items, signatures on reports and things like that. Nothing major of concern. And so we will follow up in our next audit, but not discuss them more here. As far as concluding, the next step really is our report publication. So the ones that you've seen in draft today are ready to go out and they're published on our website. There is a link here on our exit document for a subscription service, which we definitely recommend. The main port management gets all of our reports electronically, but if you're interested in notifications of when our reports come out or any other entities' reports, other locals, governments, or other ports around the state, you can set up specific notifications so that you're also notified of when those come out or what kind of issues are going on around the state. It also allows different communication for emerging issues where we really try and provide resources to our governments, and so that link is there. At the beginning of the audit, we estimated the cost to be about $47,500, and finding some efficiencies during work, it will be approximate that amount. Our next step coming from us is a customer service survey that again goes to management and can be forwarded on. We use it internally as training. We really recommend that every person who's involved in the audit, give us their perspective because it's not only feedback for us, but also what you find most important as part of our audit. And so we can make sure we're using that to refocus as necessary. And the final piece that you'll see on that document is the next scheduled audit. Again, going in 2017, looking at the 2016 calendar year for, again, a very similar accountability and legal compliance audit, a financial statement audit, and a passenger facility charge audit. So as a budgeting tool, we've estimated that at $39,400. Again, considering that at this point we don't foresee you needing a federal grant compliance audit, but if you do have federal expenditures of $750,000 or more, just to let us know, and we can include that as part of our audit, and we'd probably have very similar audit costs to this year. So letting you know what's planned for next year. Okay. We do want to thank everyone at the port. It was a very smooth audit, great collaborative environment, which we really do appreciate. And again, we were able to get everything done and completed prior to the CAFR deadline that the port goes for every year. And again, that's why you'll see things dated as June 28th, because that's when we were able to complete everything. So that is really all from us, unless there are any other questions. But again, we do really appreciate the relationship.
So what I heard you say is if we stay under the $750,000 in the federal audit or grant audit, we save $8,000.
Correct, yes. That if you have federal expenditures, then you do require that audit, and so that's additional time. But yes, because I think you're just barely over that this year, but it's not an annual requirement that you have. So yeah, strings attached to federal money.
Commissioner, I would just add that with respect to the air, Tamara has changed up how we look at that, so there's another set of eyes on it so that it won't reoccur.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Rob, she mentioned the participation in the customer service survey. Is it possible to ensure we get 100% from staff on that one?
Yeah, we'll make sure that we complete that. I won't involve you guys in it since you weren't involved in the audit unless you want to be. But yeah, we'll make sure Tamara's staff fills that out and gives them some good feedback. Thank you, auditors.
Thank you. Okay, so that's our audit exit. Why does it seem like we get more than one of those per year? I don't know. It's just weird. Good job. Tamara's a little under the weather, so we're being nice to her today. Okay. So we are going to move on to an action item. And Diane, if you'd read the first one, please.
A motion to authorize the executive director to execute the 2016-2018 collective bargaining agreement between the Port of Bellingham and the International Association of Firefighters, Local 106, the IAFF, including any necessary budget adjustments.
Thank you, Diane. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Elizabeth Monahan, Director of Human Resources. As you know, the IAFF, Local 106, represents our airport operations specialists, and we currently have 10 specialists that are part of that unit. And the agreement between the Port and the IAFF expired December 31 of 2015. We began negotiating in January, had very productive sessions. The bargaining teams reached tentative agreement on June 1. The IAFF took that to their membership and ratified that. So now it's your turn. I'd just like to recognize for you who was on the bargaining team. So I was chief spokesperson for the Port. We had Sunil, Director of Aviation, Sunil Harman. Mark Lutweiler was there for a little while before he left us and went back to Portland. And then Emily Philippi is our airport operations supervisor, and Lindsay Burmeister as our HR coordinator was our secretary. And for the IAFF, we had Brian Wilson, who's an airport operations specialist 2, was the chief negotiator. And then from the 106, we had Mannix McDonald and Dave Pethick. I think I pronounced that right. We have Zach Rushing here. He was part of the team. He came in when Joe Getz left for Klamath Falls. So Zach came in at the very tail end. So I'd just like to thank the team. They did a really good job. And I think what we came to is a very good agreement. The agreement before you today solidifies the current 12-hour shift schedule, which was a very big priority for the membership. So we were able to identify some opportunities for improvement over what we had been doing, and then solidify that for the folks that wanted the 12-hour shifts. The wage increases acknowledge the significant loss of revenue at the airport and maintain competitive wages and benefits for our employees. And so we think we found a really good middle ground in recognition of some of the revenue losses that we have at the airport right now. So as you can see in your packet, I've given you the red line version of the contract, which identifies all of the changes, but the significant financial impacts are a 2.5% increase that would be retroactive to January 1 of 2016, 2.5% on January 1, 2017, and 3% on January 1, 2018. And then 2017, January 1, we're increasing the shift differential by 0.5% for those people that are working the 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. Do you have any questions?
I have none.
Commissioner Briscoe?
No, I have no questions, and I'd just like to say to Elizabeth and the negotiating team for the Port, thank you very much. And to the AFF, thank you very much for everybody negotiating contract that seems to be agreeable to everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, I would certainly second that. This commission definitely appreciates the good faith of our union brothers and sisters, given the revenue declines we see at the airport. And yes, we do work with a big pot of money, but the revenue declines at the airport have been really significant. So that the effort from the unions to sort of recognize that and move forward the way we are is really it's really thoughtful on their behalf. So thank you for that. Anything further from you, Elizabeth?
No, the bargaining committee recommends your approval of this contract.
Okay. Anything further, Commissioner Briscoe?
No.
Okay. Dan?
Nothing further?
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Appreciate all your work on that. Did you have something to add? Rob?
No, I'm going to ask that we pull the item number 2, and Adam can help explain why.
Okay, item number 2 is the contract with Strider Construction for the C Street Terminal Phase 1. All right, Mr. Fulton.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Adam Fulton, Director of Facilities. Staff is requesting withdrawal of this action, and I'd like to explain why. Over this past week, since the time we entered the packet with the action request, we made a discovery of what we think was an unfair bid practice. That is essentially our fault. We use a bidding agent when we go out to bid, we use the weekly Construction Resources Plan Center. So they become our agent. We send them our plans. They have a network of contractors as well as a network of owners, and their plan center becomes a meeting place for both contractors and owners so that we can get a lot of bids and they can see what's available to bid. So it's a very good resource. We've used them for years. However, a mistake was made in their office that created us sending out 2 different proposal forms for the same bid. And with legal counsel's help, we agree that it's just confusing. There was just a little bit of confusion, and we'd rather have an absolutely straightforward bid process. So what you see here on the screen in front of you is just a typical unit price bid form, and with different bid schedules. So back here on the first page, there's Schedule A, concludes there in the middle, approximately here, and then Schedule B starts, concludes here, and then Schedule C starts. We, in bids, often identify different bid schedules if we have different budgets they're going to, or if there's a taxation reason. For instance, on this C Street terminal, since we're building a public road, we're exempt from paying public taxes on that road. So we break out that part of the bid into its own separate bid schedule. The problem occurred right down here in bid schedule C, where we create this $5,000 allowance to do some potholing. These are sites with impacted soils, and so we like to have basically an allowance we can work against to go make discovery and then learn how to deal with them. So you can see that if it was just as it shows here, that's a pretty straightforward bid. I'll have a close-up of this in just one moment. This was what went out to the public. First, you'll notice up on top there that up in this area here that the font is completely different, and that had the effect of doing a phase shift down through the PDF where suddenly we had these other numbers introduced, and it doubled up down here on page 2, and then the real killer was right here on page 3 in bid schedule C, where suddenly we had, I'm going to zoom in just on this portion right here. And this top one here is the way it should have read, or actually the way it was printed out to us is 434 tons. The unit price, $5,000 per ton, carried out to $5,000. Obviously a mathematical error. But it confused one of our bidders, frankly, and it was coincidentally our low bidder. And so we felt it was in the best interests of integrity and upright processes to simply withdraw the bid and rebid it. So we are back out on the street rebidding it now. The remedy, by the way, before we leave that, there was 2 remedies. First of all, within WCR's office themselves, is they have a different SOP in place. And essentially what happened was they printed it from 2 different computers, one of which was running one version of Windows and the other was running a different version of Windows. And it wreaked havoc on the translation. And then a second one is really we had a discovery of an old requirement that sort of survived a bit of the digital age, and that is that we had this requirement that we needed to physically print the proposal forms and physically hand it to the contractors bidding. It's really unnecessary in today's digital world. We simply put a PDF posted, they can print it themselves and perform the bid. So both of those have been corrected, and I don't think we'll have this problem ever again. I don't know that we've ever had it before. So you will see a rebid, and you will see an action. Actually, you will see a new business item at our next meeting, at the July 19th meeting. And it will be an action, but it will be under new business because we won't have the information to present to you until that day. The actual look much like what you have in front of you today, with the exception of the bid price and the contractor. Do the commissioners have any any question about this?
I don't have a problem with it, but I do have a question.
Yes.
The difference is $35,000, is that correct?
No, it is not. The difference would be 434 tons. Section 103.1 of the standard specifications require that when there is a mathematical error discovered, the mathematical procedure and method and process starts with the unit price. So the unit price governs. So in other words, their bid would have to have been 434 tons times $5,000 per ton for $2.1 million. It would have made them astronomically high, and it would not be an issue. So no, it's not a difference of it's a difference of $2 million.
I guess the difference I see on C8 is one was at let's see, one was at 1,600, the other 34,000, 112, 16, 14.
The commissioner would need to look at item C10.
C10.
And C10 is the culprit, where you have, again, a unit price 434 tons at $5,000 a ton. The bid extension should be 2.1 million.
Oh,
not
there it is over there.
$5,000.
Yeah, okay. The far one.
And it was just simply literally a computer glitch between.
No, that
versions
answers
of
the
Windows.
question, because you have to rebid it then.
Yes.
Obviously, it wasn't within that limit. Now, what does that do, Adam, to when now everyone's seen everyone's bid?
It's a great question. I don't know what it does.
They've all seen each other's bid now, and it's time to rebid it.
Sure.
Obviously, the bids will be much closer.
Yeah, right. The thing is that we have spent years and years and years building up a ton of integrity with the contracting community, and we have the very real budget and very real intention of awarding $2.8 million worth of construction. So the interest will be there, and the bids will be sharp. I don't know what it does comparatively, one contractor to the next. Kind of curious to learn it, actually.
We can sure see the error, because the one contractor was at 2.1 million.
He would be. That's correct.
So,
if you follow.
and that put him way over,
correct.
obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Commissioner Briscoe?
No questions.
So all the bidders have seen all the other bidders' numbers. John, I know you're standing in today, but I'm going to throw this at you. What's the law say about that? That's because Adam wants to know too, right?
The others' numbers, they see the numbers, and I assume the pencils are going to get sharper for the bidders. Is what's going to happen. There's no law preventing if they have access and have seen the numbers, then that's information they can choose to use competitively in their bid.
So, Adam, you said that the error showed up because two different machines were printing. So the error showed up in what? Can you name Weekly Construction who?
It is the Western Construction Resources Plan Center.
All right, Western Construction Resources Plan Center. Okay, so they had their two machines were physically printing copies that they were handing out?
That's correct.
Okay. Would these have shown up on the PDF as well?
No, the PDF was perfect, and the PDF comes from us. We send them the PDF of our plans, our specs, the whole bid packet, and then their job is to distribute that to the contracting community. Where I think we got a little snagged up was we had a requirement in there that says, in order for you to bid a Port of Bellingham project, you have to bid it on the form we print out for you, which is kind of an odd. It's just sort of an odd requirement that we discovered was still part of our bid process, which is not necessary at all. No other agency does that I'm aware of.
Okay, all right.
I guess the glaring look here, it would have made the high bid right in the ballpark with the two low bids, had that error not been there. As you subtract that 2.1 or 2,170,000,
That low bidder of 2.1 would have become 4.2, and then our low bidder would have been.
So the high bidder was the correct one, all the others were low? Yes, because you said, yeah, I got it, okay. Well,
So again, with legal counsel's advice, we just believe the best thing to do is to clean up our bid and rebid it, and you'll see it in 2 weeks.
it'll certainly make it more competitive, so that's to the port's advantage, but that's not what we
And
want.
that's not how we operate, obviously,
Right.
commissioners. Like I say, we spent a lot of time and a lot of pain to have a very high reputation with the contracting community, and we're thankful for that. So.
Anything further, Commissioner Briscoe?
No.
All right, Commissioner Robbins?
Nothing more.
Okay, all right, we'll wait to see this in a couple weeks. So we're a few minutes ahead of our 5 o'clock break. If you can do action item number 4, the RAS construction, in 15, 20 minutes, is that possible?
Absolutely.
You do that? All right, so we're going to move item number 4, executing a contract with RAS Construction for the Harris Avenue Shipyard Pier, into our current conversation. So go ahead, and that leaves us just one action item after we reconvene at 5:30. So Diane, if you read number 4 on the action items, please.
Authorize the executive director to execute a contract with RAS Construction of Bellingham, Washington for the Harris Avenue Shipyard Pier interim repairs and Blaine Harbor marine structures immediate repairs in the amount of $760,720.42, plus a 6% contingency for a total authorized contract amount of $809,543.65, and reallocate $177,559.74 from GL account 105-570-1900 to GL account 105-658-1900, and reallocate $51,851.99 from GL account 105-570-1900 to GL account 105-669-1900, 1900.
All right, thank you, Diane. Adam?
Thank you again, commissioners. This is a very standard construction project. We have 2 piers that need some attention. On both of those piers, we did or are doing immediate repairs, which we've already done to the Fairhaven Pier, and we're currently doing to the Blaine Sawtooth. And this is to get these up and functional so they can be used today, and that is what has happened over in Fairhaven. And then this repair is what we're calling the interim repairs. These are already permitted, so we wanted to take advantage of this in-water work window coming up. And this work restores far more capability in both of these piers. The reason they couldn't be done under the immediate is because there are piles to drive, and we simply don't have that capability in-house or internally. And then, of course, in the case of the Fairhaven Pier, the commission will see a larger project budgeted at, I think, $9.5 million to replace a large section of pier over in Fairhaven. So on this bid of slight interest is that we did have the lowest bidder claim error and follow the procedures of, I'm afraid I don't recall the specification section, but they did follow the correct procedures with affidavit and showing us where they made their mathematical errors, and that was Neptune Construction. So we've let them out of the bid without retrieving their bid bond, and are recommending award to this second low bidder, which is RAS Construction.
How much was their bid bond?
5% of their bid of $500,000, so $25,000.
And they lost that?
No, we did not retrieve the bid bond because
Did not retrieve it?
Correct. If I misspoke, I apologize.
Oh, that's all right.
They followed the correct procedures to show that they made it just simply a mathematical error, in 7 places, frankly. So.
Commissioner Briscoe? Commissioner Briscoe?
Sorry, we're on mute. There was an airplane going by.
Yes.
no, I understand what he's speaking to there. I do have a question. Did you say we have started in Blaine on the Sawtooth, or did I misunderstand what you said, Adam?
No, you are correct. We did the Fairhaven work in the past 3 weeks. These are immediate repairs, and now we're up in Blaine.
Okay, very good.
So when I read this, Adam, I was surprised they got this barge for $85 a day, because I want to go rent there. That was a good price. Not 18,000 a day. That's a big difference. All right, so that looks like Neptune followed the rules, which is good, and things are moving along. Did have one question. I mentioned this at the public conversation we had in Blaine maybe a month ago now. It's about the small pier-side crane to load and offload the fishing boats. Is that part of this? Will that be included in this work, or will that be something that's included in the more comprehensive build-out or reconstruction?
It would be in part of the more comprehensive build-out following the public meeting we had up in Blaine a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Okay.
I noticed we have a 6% contingency. Is that normal? I thought it was more like 10.
Typically, we try for 10%, but what we're doing there with those reallocations is we came up with a different solution for the Gate 1 silt dig out. So instead of that being a $300,000 solution, it's more of a $100,000 solution. So what we wanted to do was, what we are doing is taking that budget surplus from that project and using it elsewhere in the marina to get more work done for them, but under different line items, i.e. utility hangars, this sort of thing.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Anything further, Commissioner Briscoe?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Robbins?
I have nothing more.
I have nothing further either. It's good to see this work going forward, so thank you very much, Adam.
You're very welcome.
All right, so all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, so passes 3-0. Thanks, Adam. And so we will reserve the final action item regarding the liveaboard's rules and regulations procedures for when we reconvene at 5:30. So we are officially on dinner break until 5:30. There we go.
Thanks, Commissioner Briscoe.
5:30, we're going to reconvene after our dinner break. And it looks like we have two folks signed up for public comment. If you do want to say something, feel free to step up after to the mic after Jim Young. So we're going to start with Elizabeth Kilanowski.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Am I on? Can you hear me all right? Okay.
1 second, Elizabeth. Can you hear her, Commissioner Briscoe?
Just fine. I can hear everybody just fine, Mike.
Okay,
Very
great.
good.
Thanks. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you. I'm Elizabeth Kilanowski. I'm a liveaboard moorage customer. I've been one for about 18 years. I'm also a member of the Marina Advisory Committee. And I want to speak to the proposed liveaboard rules, regulations, and procedures. First, I want to thank the staff for the newest version of the proposed rules and regulations for liveaboards, especially for dropping the fee. But I also have comments about paragraph 8 in your attachment A. And I want to take just a moment to ask that you try to see this from the perspective of somebody like myself who's been living aboard for the last 18 years. We have two different issues here. First, we have registered liveaboards and those who will be permitted to be registered liveaboards. Some of those people have been on a wait list for several years. And secondly, we have people living aboard who will not apply and those who apply and will not be accepted as liveaboards. Liveaboard rules will not apply to this latter group. Paragraph 8 speaks to those who will not be in the liveaboard system. And to equate the two, I think, is not appropriate. This paragraph rightly belongs in the general rules and regulations that cover all moorage customers. Also, to add the last sentence regarding the police, in my opinion, sets a chilling tone and implies that the liveaboard moorage customers are somehow more prone to criminal behavior than general moorage customers. So I would ask that that last sentence in that paragraph be removed. Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Mr. Jim Young?
Yes, my name's Jim Young, and I've been a moorage customer here for 16 years. I was on the Marina Advisory Committee for about 8. And since you sent all the commissioners on May 13th an email concerning my opinions about the liveaboard issue, and I hope you got it and don't need another copy. I've got some copies, but if you've already got it, I don't need to read it. I guess what I wanted to express to you is that there are some wonderful people living aboard, and there's some people who are living aboard boats in Squalicum Harbor that are not so wonderful. And the recommendations of the Marina Advisory Committee have been watered down in this. And I really think to protect the 1,700 other moorage customers, we need to have a strong liveaboard policy. I'm not sure that this necessarily does that for us, but it's a step in the right direction. I think if you had an opportunity to talk to other port commissioners or harbor masters, you'd realize that every harbor in Puget Sound charges an average of about $90 a month for a liveaboard. I don't understand why we are not doing the same thing. I mean, the object of this place is to make improvements and you charge me for my moorage, we should do what other places are doing. So although it's a step in the right direction, I think you need to take more proactive approach. I think we need to charge somewhere between $75 and $100 a month for a liveaboard. And I think it's justified. I think the rules are justified, and I think it'll help us. As my note said to you, we have had some terrible situations around where I am. We've had drug busts, we've had prostitution, we've had people who've committed murder. We need to control it, and the harbor master needs the rules to allow it to be controlled. So although this is a start, I think you need to go further. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Young. Barb, is it France? France, Barb France. That's the last person that signed up. If there's anybody that hasn't signed up, just go ahead and follow Barb and introduce yourself at the podium.
Hi, my name is Barb France, and my husband and I live at Blaine Marine Harbor, and we've been liveaboards for approximately a little over 2 years. And I have a couple comments. One comment is number 7, with the where it only says registered owner and their immediate family may live aboard a vessel. Liveaboard vessels may have up to 2 adults living aboard the vessel. Sometimes life throws you a curve where your adult child needs to live with you for a short period of time, hopefully. So I'm just kind of wondering if that could be clarified with just 2 adults, where I know it might be up to the discretion of the harbor master. So I just would like to make that comment. Another comment, I guess I wasn't going to make, but I'll make it just short, is the comment that made, I guess, as Jim Young. I've met wonderful people that have been liveaboards and have been customers of just Blaine Harbor, and you have rotten eggs on both sides. I haven't met any, honestly, rotten eggs at Blaine Harbor with liveaboards, but there has been some customers where we've had some issues with. So I don't think you can just make a blanket comment on just liveaboards being the problem with the marina. So thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you, ma'am. That is all that's signed up. Any further comment? Anybody? Okay, we are going to move on because the bell says I need to. All right, we have a single action item to discuss. We probably have some. We will have some new business to discuss after this action item, but let's go ahead and read that, Diane.
A motion to adopt Resolution 1226M, incorporating updated and revised regulations for liveaboards into the harbor's rules, regulations, and procedures, and approving a new liveaboard application and liveaboard agreement.
Commission, there's a slight error in the action item that is before you. The action item is essentially identical to what was in front of you at your last meeting. For the meeting tonight, we changed the date to reflect today's date. And then I inserted the and revised language in both the subject and the action requested. What I did not do, and I apologize for this, is I did not go down and read the fiscal impact, which talked about 2 different things. One of them talked about the fee. The proposal that's before you today had taken that out. I should have redacted or removed the second sentence there under fiscal impact that described the $25 fee and totaled that up starting in April 1st, 2017. So for the record, that should be taken out, and the fiscal impact should just be the fact that if this is adopted, then Blaine would be able to sign up some new customers there that would be helpful. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Dan, I'm confused here in the resolution where it says that this will change on or about the first business meeting of the year.
Correct. So
we adopt it now?
Correct. And by design, the commission direction to staff is the rules and regs, even if there's no change, once a year. That comes back in front of you, typically at the January meeting.
Oh, every year?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Briscoe, do you have any questions?
I may have a question for one of our speakers. I guess my question is for Jim Young. I don't have any questions for Dan, but I have a question for Jim Young. I'm not sure. The money thing gets into this, Jim, and do you think that the $90 to $100 are going to fix the problems that we have in our harbors? The liveaboard fee, is this where you're going with that? I'm clear on that.
Commissioner Brewster, what really my concern is that, I'm at Gate 8, which is pretty much all small boats. We have a lot of liveaboards that are in small craft there. There's very little infrastructure to support them near where we are. we need money here. The port needs money, the marina needs money. We've, about 5 years ago, made a proposal to have a new gatehouse near Gate 8, similar to what's at Gate 12, but it could never be funded. And it seems like every time we turn around, nope, it's an opportunity to have some funds that every harbor in Puget Sound has taken advantage of. And if we had a $100 for every $100 a month fee or some fee, I think we might be able to support some of the infrastructure that we're trying to improve. Also, I mean, you have something in front of you already, I think, about putting or repairing the washrooms and showers. I mean, I've been here 16 years. I couldn't even tell you where the showers are. But liveaboards use them, I would assume, every day. But they don't seem to want to pay for them. That's kind of where I'm going with it. I don't think that the liveaboard fee is going to correct all the problems in the harbor, but it's moving to try and support some of it. Does that answer why?
Yeah, I would correct you, though, that the liveaboards don't pay for their showers. They do pay in their mortgage fee. Maybe you feel that they need to pay more, but at this point in time in the mortgage model, that stuff is all in that closed loop, and those people do pay. So thank you, Mr. Young.
Okay.
One more question, Mike, as the airplane goes by out there. To the, I think the lady that spoke, Barbara, I believe was her name, on paragraph 8. Or excuse me, not paragraph 8, paragraph 7. What would you feel comfortable with language in there? Do you have an idea for language that would be more comfortable for you folks as to who's aboard the vessel?
Well, I think there was at one time, I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but there was something with the discretion of the harbor master. And not only that, it's not just with an adult child that's moved out, but what if you have an 18-year-old? I don't know what constitutes an adult anymore. Is it 18 or is it 21? So there's some, possible liveaboards that might have an older child that's still in high school or going to college. So I guess that might be clarified.
Okay, I'm almost thinking that the registered owner and their immediate family would cover that, but maybe Dan can speak to that better. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a similar question regarding the two adults language. Can you explain, Commissioner Briscoe, Dan Stahl's at the mic right now. Dan, can you explain the sentence, liveaboard vessels may have up to 2 adults living aboard the vessel, and why children were not considered in that sentence?
Yes, let me try and do this in 2 ways. The question that Barb raised, I believe there is current discretion in the rules and regs that would allow the harbor master to deal with the situation that Barb has. So that is something that can be worked out. The particular question about the language here. So item number 7 is an item that was amended by the MAC at their April 11th meeting. So if the commission recalls, the MAC worked through their process, came up with, the staff came up with a draft proposal. We sent letters to all of our liveaboard customers. We moved the venue from the MAC meeting from this room over to the boathouse because we expected a bigger crowd, and we got that. That was, and then from the floor at that meeting, there was a motion to remove part of the language in 7, and what was removed was a definition of family, essentially. It said spouse, domestic partner, or significant other. And so that was part of the language that was taken out, so that that was taken out by the MAC. That language then moved forward to the commission for our discussion in this room. And then after that meeting, we struck the second sentence there. So that's kind of the history of how the language got to be the way it is. Did I answer your question, Commissioner?
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're overthinking this, because the way I'm reading number 7, if the registered owner was the old lady in the shoe, she and all of her dozens of children could live with her, but not her husband and her husband's sister, because that would be 3 adults. But there's no limitation on the number of people in number 7, as long as they're children.
Correct.
So I could have 2 adults and 15 kids living on my boat.
And could I ask here, Dan, when you say immediate family or children, we don't have an age on those children. So they're not, if their children are over 21 or over 18, they're still considered their immediate family and children, so they wouldn't fall into the adult category. Am I correct?
This kind of situation does not come up very often. The rules and regs give the harbor master some discretion, and my sense is that the harbor masters would handle these on a case-by-case basis, and we don't have any track record of being harsh or sharp with children and families. So I think that you'd see that your staff would bend over backwards to accommodate reasonable situations. If you look in the very back of the rules and regs, it says if somebody is unhappy with the decision of one of the harbor masters, they can appeal that to the maritime director, and that would be me.
And I agree with what you said about staff, Dan. I wasn't questioning staff. I was just trying to figure out the word there, or the wording, so that Barb was clear on that.
Right.
Dan, last time we discussed this, there was a question about safety and the number of people overcrowding a boat could lead to a safety issue, but I don't see that addressed here.
We set a minimum length, and we give the harbor masters discretion. So if the old woman in the shoe and 15 kids showed up, my guess is that the harbor masters would have a sense of how that would go, and they would probably call me, and we'd talk about it, and we probably wouldn't agree to 15 kids on a 26-foot boat.
As regards number 7, I would be absolutely comfortable striking the second sentence and just leaving the first sentence as the guiding principle for that entire paragraph. I think, I don't know why we would limit who lives on the boat to as many children as you want, but not more than 2 adults. Again, I think we're trying too hard to figure out who might possibly live there and why they would live there, where I think that the registered owner immediate family solves the whole issue, and let them decide who their immediate family is, I suppose.
I think part of that issue was the problem where a bunch of college kids move onto a boat, and you've got 4 of them living down there on a boat.
Yeah,
not related, and
I get that too.
Did create some problems.
Yeah, I get that too, but that exact same thing happens in the cities all over the country, and I know that in Washington State, it's not legal to just limit to this. The city of Bellingham would do this with the university. 3 unrelated people. I don't know.
Commissioner Robbins, I would just tell you, I think in that regard, to that concern, the word only in the sentence is the critical. Only the registered owner and their immediate family may live aboard the vessel. So the college students
wouldn't happen. Yeah.
You balance that with the 2 adults. That means that is trying to get to the multiple adult children living on a boat with the parents. That's, I think, the question you're struggling with, and whether you should have more definitions around that. Essentially, what is an adult versus a children, and is there an age to that? And may many adult children be on the vessel with the 2, or the owner and partner?
So I'm hearing a suggestion for a striking of that second sentence.
I think the first sentence alone, it satisfies any concerns that I might have. I mean, rowdy people are rowdy people. I can be as rowdy as my neighbors are willing to put up with, and if I'm not breaking any rules or law, then they just have to kind of grin and bear it.
Well, I guess the only question I might have on that is 2 unmarried adults can't live on a boat? If you strike that.
Where's that at?
Well, we're saying immediate family. And what I have to agree with what your opening comment was, we may be overthinking this.
What was
You know, you're not going to be able to make a law for, or rules or
situation.
regulations for every single item that comes up. That's why the discretion of the harbor master is important to have in the rules and regulations.
Dan, you said something about, there was a conversation about spouse, significant other,
Domestic partner.
domestic partner. Where did that go?
So that was language that the staff had in the earlier draft that was released to the MAC and sent to all of our registered liveaboards. And that's language that I believe we pulled out of some of our documents from HR about how we deal with in some of our own internal documents. So that was where that language came from. I don't remember exactly what the impetus was, but when we talked this through with the MAC, there was discussion and that was taken out.
So again, overthinking it, I could see a situation where a person was legally married to more than one other person, hence 3 people, which isn't recognized in the state of Washington, but would be considered as a significant other. 3 people. Why would we be so discriminatory to say it's only 2 people? You got to be married. Or apparently we're not even saying that. Am I wrong? We're not even saying that. Just 2 adults of any connection whatsoever, but not 3 adults. I don't want to be. It just feels too discriminatory for me. I don't like being that specific because again, it's sort of like we're trying to pick out every potential situation, try to write it into the rules. It seems like the MAC had a conversation that was specifically intended to avoid issues of noise. It's pretty clear that was the, rowdy people was sort of the intent here. I get that. It makes sense. I think that we get there by just saying the registered owner and immediate family, period. I don't know Commissioner Briscoe, what do you think about that?
I would simplify it by doing just only the registered owner and immediate family, kind of, and leave the discretion up to the harbor master. I would agree with striking the 2 adults.
What do you think, Commissioner Robbins?
I just know there's a lot of people, especially when they're older and decide to live on a boat that aren't married and they're traveling around and they may live in a port for a couple of years. Being a sailor that has met a lot of those people, there's a lot of 2 people that aren't married, and I would hate to not allow those people to live on a boat in our harbor.
Can you add, again, keeping the second 2 adults thing, or the second sentence regarding the 2 adults out of the sentence, is there a way you can add to that first sentence the significant other kind of thing or whatever? I would be very comfortable going there so that we don't, I know it's the harbor master's discretion. Harbor master's not going to say anything, but if you wanted to get too picky, and apparently we're getting too picky, I would want to make sure that we're inclusive to relationships.
I think what you're talking about here is the definition of family.
Sure.
And it sounds as though the MAC and the staff had a definition of family at an earlier point that was broad enough to include the domestic partner. And I think that's what you're searching for there, Commissioners.
Sure.
It's just that if you're used the first sentence and their immediate family, you're high centering, if you will, on what is family.
Okay, so
maybe coming back with that definition might be the solution.
Immediate family does or does not consider domestic
Here you're
partners?
saying does include.
Does include.
Domestic partner. And I think that was the definition the MAC may have had when they worked through that with staff before. And that may be, all you need to add there is the family definition.
Okay.
And that will cover both the concerns I'm hearing you both raise.
Does that work for you?
Works for me.
Okay.
Okay, so then we will put the spouse, domestic partner, or significant other back into item number 7.
I'm not sure we need to, do we?
Yeah, I think what we're saying, Dan, is that we're going to define what immediate family is, and immediate family includes a domestic partner. So what we need instead is just a quick paragraph or sentence.
Family means.
Yeah.
Okay, family is defined as.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a question about paragraph 8. And Elizabeth Kalinowski mentioned something about putting that particular paragraph in the regular rules and regs and not specifically just here. Does that, is there any reason to do that or not do that, Mr. Stahl?
So the additional sentence that was added to item number 8 was done to be responsive to the policy discussion that the commission had at the last meeting when we were talking about item number 8. Commissioner Briscoe went on at some length about his concerns there and about his desire to have the port work collaboratively with the police department.
Well, hang on one sec. No, I don't mean just that sentence. I'm talking about the whole paragraph as a whole, because we're talking about liveaboard rules and regs, but this, I think she may have correctly pointed out, this is just general toward every boat in the harbor, unauthorized people living on a boat. So I guess the question is this in the right section of the rules for the harbor? Should this be in the more general, should that paragraph be in the more general rules and regulations governing the entirety of situations in the harbor? Every slip, every boat gets the same rule, and it's not just in this liveaboard section.
We could do that. We could lift it out of number 8 and put it into a general, if that's the commission's desire.
I don't know if it makes sense to do that or not, but maybe it does.
It clearly, or in my mind, this was not a sentence that was added that would be enforced with authorized liveaboards and would not be used with unauthorized liveaboards. That wasn't our intent in putting it in there. So if the intent is to have that be something that is worked on through the harbor, then perhaps it could be lifted out of 8 and put into a general section. We could do that very easily.
I think the entire paragraph would be just removed and moved into the general rules and regulations. Mr. Sitka, did you have a point?
The reason to have it is not to be duplicative, but is that it follows 7 and there's a bit of a notice concept there.
Okay.
But if it's in your general rules, it still applies. It's just, is there an extra value of having the notice there?
Sure. I don't have a problem with anything it says there. It just, I think Elizabeth pointed out, maybe it's in a weird spot, but if you folks are good with it here, it doesn't matter to me.
Part of the duplicity is just to remind them as they're reading the liveaboard rules, so I don't mind leaving it in.
Sure.
I would agree that I don't believe that's pointed at liveaboard folks only. I think it's pointed to everyone who has moorage in our harbor. That's how I view it. And if it is in our regular rules and is duplicated here, I believe it's fine.
Is it indeed in the just sort of general rules applying to every moorage customer?
Look to the harbor masters. The question is this in other language in the current rules and regs? Okay. Consensus from here is that it's not duplicative, it's not someplace else, and we're adding it here for emphasis. So this may be the only place that it lives in the document.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Briscoe, does that answer all your questions and issues?
So it's not in any of our other moorage or rules that
I've made a note, Commissioner, I've made a note to bring it up in January when we review all the rest of the rules, probably just add a paragraph to those rules that would be duplicative here.
Okay, very good. I'm fine with it then.
It wouldn't change otherwise. It's just in another section of the
That's
rules.
right.
Yeah, okay. All right. Commissioner Robbins, anything further?
I did. I had a couple of questions. One, we've talked about the fact that the fee that was in there was already, has been mentioned a couple of times, was already covered in your moorage fee, the moorage fee. I think it's important to remember that the average boat leaves the harbor 7 times in a year. So what the average is that was figured in was 7 times that a boat, 7 days a year would use the facilities and the garbage and so on. Where someone living aboard would be in the neighborhood of 300 days a year, assuming they go a couple months out cruising. So they would be using the garbage and the facilities, the showers, the water, a lot more than what was figured in when we first started this. So that's number one. Number two, the MAC committee, who I regard highly in the work they've done, there was only one person that voted against having the fee in there, and that was a liveaboard, which is understandable. So as I kick this around, when Commissioner McCullough, you had mentioned that you needed a little more information on why there should be a fee at the last meeting. And I thought long and hard about that, and I decided to dig out what I pay for garbage. And there's just the two of us. Probably, my wife and I probably don't use much more garbage than a family living on a boat, or create more garbage. We recycle like everyone else. And we end up paying $42 a month for garbage for the two of us, and we get picked up every other month. Now, you're not required to do that. You can load it in a pickup truck and take it out to recomp your garbage if you want to, so you don't have to do it. But so can folks on boats, I guess. So the $25, I easily got to $125. And let me tell you how I got there. At $42, gave them the benefit of the doubt. $25 for garbage doesn't seem unreasonable for someone living on their boat 365 days or 300 days a year. Then I looked at my utility bill for my water and my sewer, and we take they get water like I do, but the liveaboard would have a sewer that goes into the pump out station, but then that goes into our sewer, as the sewer here in Bellingham as well. But that's $184 a year I pay, but my water rate is only $38. The sewer is $78. But then I have the Lake Whatcom watershed base rate of $25, and believe me, I don't use that or am detrimental to that lake any more than someone living on a boat. And then the stormwater runoff is another $20. And then you throw on top of that parking two cars. Now, I park my cars in a garage, so the water runoff from my cars isn't going to be as great as the two cars parked either in Blaine or Bellingham. And I'm sure you're going to say, well, some of those cars, some folks ride bikes and they don't have cars. That's true, but we're still, if we have 150 boats, we're still going to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 additional cars parked on port property for the liveaboards. So when you do $25 a car, you do $25 for the Lake Whatcom watershed, $25 for the sewer, for the stormwater, and $25 for your garbage. I can get to $125. So I was really happy when the MAC came up with something, I think around $70 or $75. That made sense to me. And now to turn around and take it to nothing, if there's a cost overrun in a closed loop system, I don't want to stick the taxpayer with a lifestyle that someone chooses to live. So I'd really like to see, ideally, when you look at the other folks at $75 at Everett that's going to $100 and $80 at Shilshole that's going to $100, $70 to me, or 70 or 75 is a reasonable fee. And so I'm disappointed that it's not in this and would like to see it put back in.
Well, I'll jump in, Bobby. I'm inclined to agree with, I think, everything that Dan just said. I don't know the number, the 125 is the right number or not. But given that I do agree with what you said, I do think that we need to have a conversation about what the number should be.
My number was 70.
70,
Yeah.
sure. that would certainly be something that's, Commissioner Briscoe, I don't want you to weigh in on that too, and I don't want to do it today, but I think moving forward, we can move this part of the conversation forward today, and we can bring that rate discussion forward again. There were still some other questions that I felt I wanted answered. I wanted to know that if there is a fee, that the people paying it are receiving something of value for that fee. I know that there are many things that they do receive at no cost that I don't get in my own neighborhood. So some of those we can flesh out as we move forward. But I definitely want to have a conversation with you, Commissioner Robbins, and Commissioner Briscoe about that fee coming up again in the future.
Why would we not want to address it now when we're doing all the rules and regulations and all the meetings we've had on it and all the meetings the MAC has had on it as we adopt these? Why would we want to kick that can down the road?
I don't know the right number. I know that I think Commissioner Briscoe, you're not terribly in favor of a fee, and I personally don't know the right number today. What the
Well, let me clarify a little bit, Mike. It's not that I am not in favor of a fee. I want the fee justified when we put it there. I want the number accurate. We haven't seen those figures. Commissioner Robbins has said how much his stuff costs him. We don't know what it costs us at the harbor. We have a closed-loop system. I've been told by staff that we're putting roughly $542,000 in a kitty for work that's going to need to be done in the future. So we're not going backwards in our closed-loop system. So this is a discussion we do need to have, but I believe the proper time to put a mortgage increase to someone that is not, it just comes out of the blue. The proper time is to do it when our mortgage rates are adjusted and talked about in 2000, I believe it's 18. I believe it's 18. That's the correct time, because this really isn't just a fee for liveaboards. This is a mortgage rate increase, and it needs to be done when mortgage rate increase is done. In my mind, if we're going to have a fee for our liveaboard folks, it's a different rate in our harbors for mortgage. The mortgage fee is a different level for liveaboard vessels than it is for non-liveaboard vessels, and I believe it needs to be done then and done correctly. That's where I stand on it.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with you, Commissioner Briscoe, with the exception of the timing. I think I would like to see it discussed and decided upon before 2018. Mr. Stahl, when's the next? Is it 2018 that we adopt new mortgage, the new mortgage model in 2018?
Correct. So 2017, we'll go through the planning exercise for the inner basin. That'll be pretty much a year-long exercise. And then 2018, we'll start the Marge model review.
All right. And
one thing I think we should consider, if we have a $70 fee, which is the lowest in Puget Sound for liveaboards, or zero for a while, we're going to have a whole lot of people, I think, that are living around different areas that say, I can go live in Bellingham for no fee, and they move here, and then we're going to have them here saying, gosh, I came here knowing there was no fee. Now that we're establishing our liveaboard policies, I feel strongly that we should put a fee with it at the same time.
Well, I would only worry about, I'm going to use a British word, I'm only going to worry about retirees and pensioners, because I think anybody that actually has a job wouldn't just move here, so they could live for free.
The flip side to that, Commissioner Robbins, would be that we're going to fill up all our liveaboard stalls that we don't charge a fee for, and the port is going to make more revenue.
Great.
Okay. Well, the question's on the table. I do want to have a vote on this particular item today. I don't think we're kicking the can down the road. I'm sorry, I'm going to disagree with you on that one, Commissioner Robbins, because I do want to have a conversation about a rates. I do think that should be something.
When do you want to have that?
I think that we could do that in the next few months. Do we in January? There's some There's some rules and regulations and other things that start in January.
We adopt a lot of stuff in January. That seems like an appropriate time to have this wrapped up and ready to go.
All right, so that's just 5 short months away. I think we could have some
I have no
significant
problem. I
progress
have
on
no
this.
problem if we're going to do it in January.
Okay.
I'm in favor of that.
All right, so we can arm wrestle over that later. Commissioner Briscoe, do you have anything further on this item?
No.
All right, Commissioner Robbins?
Nope.
All right, with that, we are going to adopt resolution number 1226-M. All in favor, say aye.
Before you do, can I just repeat that we've got a change that we're going to make to this resolution? If I'm understanding it correctly, we're going to strike the second sentence of Section 7, and we are going to add some language defining what an immediate family means. That includes a domestic partner.
Sure, thanks for that, Rob. Okay, and the votes, all in favor, say aye.
We're adopting it with those revisions.
We eventually will vote, okay.
Yes. Just want to make sure.
All right, are you clear on this, Commissioner Briscoe, all the way in Alaska?
Yes.
Okay.
Very clear.
All right. Nothing else to add, anybody? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Measure passes 3-0. We're going to move on to new business. I'm going to start with Commissioner Briscoe, if you don't mind.
No, I think there's some other stuff that's coming up, and I really don't have anything at the time.
Did you say you have no new business items today?
No new business items today.
Okay. Commissioner Robbins.
The only thing I might suggest is we talked, when we decided to move our meetings to the new schedule, we'd review it. I can't remember when it was. I thought it may have been in 6 months. But I find the way we have our meetings now broken up very confusing for a lot of people. And I would rather go to starting at 4 o'clock and working right on through, and at 5:30 having the public comment period, if that's what our concern was, or starting at 5 o'clock, although that's right in the middle of the dinner hour. But we used to be able to get through these meetings in an hour and a half, so I wouldn't mind starting at 4 or change it from what it is now. The broken up part, I think, isn't working that well.
Commissioner Briscoe, you have any thoughts on that? Are you suggesting the easy shift would, or the simple shift would be to just end the half-hour break?
And the half-hour break and start it at 4:30 or whatever you want to do. It's very cumbersome the way it is now.
Commissioner Briscoe, any thoughts on that?
Well, I've had a lot of positive feedback from folks that want to come to the meetings, that are working and don't want to take time off. I take the whole day off to get here for the meetings and so on and so forth anyway. So the time to me seems to be okay. I mean, I'm sure we can fine tune it. But I'd like to hear your thoughts. I mean, I don't have an issue with what we're doing. It's working. I'm not saying it can't be fine tuned. I think it's, I'd like to hear from some other people too.
The only issue for me is how we're putting together, and it's obviously a work in progress, but how we're putting together the actual agenda items and when they occur. So if you've noticed for the last 6 months, the sort of more mundane, boilerplate, everyday things that we do here that don't hold, or probably don't hold a lot of interest for the average person, come up first, and then we save things like these liveaboard rules for the later time frame. When I originally suggested the break, clearly it's to sort of recharge with something to eat. I was recently chastised for eating at our last meeting. So maybe me not eating on camera is a good thing. But then also it's a hard line that says there's something else happening later that you might have an interest in. I don't personally think it's too cumbersome, but then again, I thought it was a good idea. So, you always think your ideas are good ideas. Let's, I don't know. I'm not really to change it yet, Commissioner Robbins, but I'd certainly like to chat with you a little bit more and flesh something out and see if there's some ways to make it a little bit smoother. I can understand that.
I'd like to hear from, if we have some public that would like to put input, email us, text us, however, contact us with their ideas, whether this is working for them or not working for them. I'd like to hear from the public also. And I'm not opposed to a change if everybody needs to change or feels it needs to change. I certainly want to make it as fluid as possible for everybody.
All right, seems like something we can kick the can down the road. No, I'm kidding. Sounds like something we can definitely.
Well, you're right.
Yes.
You hit the nail on the head.
Well, I'm trying to keep the meeting short for you, my friend.
Well,
I'll need some time to think about it. Is really
sure. Even if we started at 4:30 instead of 4 o'clock and skip the break and just work the consent agenda and even if we did the new business, which sometimes takes some time because the general public has no idea what that's going to be and they don't get to comment on it anyway because it's after the comment period. So we could start at 4 and right now we start at 4.
Start at 4.
So if we even moved the new business up and didn't have a break, or 4:30, it just seems cumbersome the way it is.
Okay.
Maybe the staff likes it, I don't know. Shaking their heads, some of them don't.
I think everybody wants to go home earlier.
Well, it just seems cumbersome is all.
Okay. Is that it for your new business?
That's all I had.
Okay, I've got a couple of things. Actually, I think, Sylvia, you had something for us as well about the county comprehensive plan update that's going on right now. Would you like to, did you have something to share with us, or is it just what we have on this document?
Sylvia Goodwin, Planning and Economic Development Director. Yes, I do have something to share. The County Council, as you know, has been working for the last about 2 years on an update to the County Comprehensive Plan. And just recently, there's been some fairly significant revisions that have come up about Cherry Point and the urban growth area. The text of these came out sometime after your last meeting, so I didn't have a chance to bring them up to you. And then the final text of those, or the final proposed text, came out just last Thursday. We've sent those to you. You have a copy of it. And the public comment period for that was this morning at 9:30. The County Council did decide to extend the comment period until July 12th, next Tuesday. I commented this morning asking them to extend the deadline, and I made it very clear at that meeting that the Port Commission has not taken any action or has not expressed any opinion on these amendments. I had a few suggestions of my own that I did share with the County Council and made them clear that those were not your input. And I wanted to bring this forward to see, does the Port Commission want to make any formal comments on the Cherry Point urban growth area?
So, Sylvia, we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 7.
Yeah, I could put the
7 bullets. Yeah,
yeah.
You can put those on. Okay. Commissioner Briscoe, you have a copy of these?
Yes, if we're talking about what Sylvia sent me just earlier, just before the meeting, is that what we're talking about, Sylvia?
Yeah, that is what we're talking about. And these
Yes,
questions that I put on were just about 7 issues that I thought were significant in the text. The text is quite extensive and has quite a lot of things in here, but assuming you want to go through these, there were the first 2 bullets were items that the text added, talking about recognizing the importance of the habitat, the wetlands, the history, and the cultural significance of the area to the Coast Salish people. I had no concerns about that. I thought that was a good positive thing the county could add. The second one, again, was supporting retention and expansion of existing and new businesses, I think is something that should be good in a comprehensive plan. The plan amendments, in my opinion, were fairly biased against any companies that have petroleum products. There were a lot of comments saying that we're limiting those to existing businesses and businesses that do not export petroleum products outside of the state. I wanted to know, does the commission have any opinion on that? And then there was a few fairly firm policies that there will not be a fourth or fifth pier at Cherry Point, something you have never weighed in on. Do you care to? The one that was most concerning of me was the fourth bullet on this page, which was very specific that facilities would not result in any increase of the volume of crude oil capable of being handled at such facility other than oil to be refined at that facility for consumption in the state of Washington. That was a statement that concerned me, and I was curious if you wanted to weigh in. And then there's a few on the next page. Just a minute.
Sylvia, one of our refineries does a lot of exporting of fuel. I think it's important to point that out, right, via pipeline to Portland Airport.
Yes. Currently, BP Cherry Point produces aviation fuel, which they use. They fuel airplanes at the Bellingham Airport, SeaTac. They have a pipeline that goes to the Portland Airport, and they truck aviation fuel up to Vancouver Airport. So they are currently exporting aviation fuel. If I read this correctly or interpret it correctly, this would mean that any increased volume of that fuel that was being exported out of the state would not be permitted. And that, I think, is a concern. I think it may be a violation of the U.S. Constitution. I ask the county council that they get a legal opinion on that before putting this in the comprehensive plan. But again, I did not express any opinion from the commission on it because you guys have not seen it.
So, Sylvia, in that regard, is it the Interstate Commerce Clause that maybe call it one of them? Just one? How many do you see, Mr. Sicken?
There's other acts.
Right. Right. That was probably the most concerning of the comments there. And then the last two were prohibiting. It said that the county will prohibit all future bulkheads at Cherry Point. The example that I gave to the county council is, what if we had a new industry that we wanted, such as aviation, airplane wings that we wanted to import or export down to Everett? Or what if we had windmills or wind generation facilities and there needed to be a bulkhead in order to support a crane so they could be loaded onto an existing pier on an existing pier? That would be prohibited if this policy is adopted. So I think anytime you use the word prohibit and it's an absolute, then it leaves no wiggle room for wanting to make an exception for something that you might want to support. And then the other one on that was requiring that every development project do an archaeology study designed in cooperation with the Lummi Nation. So there are a lot of known cultural facilities there. It's already in the shoreline program. There's already some fairly stiff state requirements for archaeology. And if it's any kind of a wetland fill, you need to do an archaeology study. But this would mean all development everywhere in Cherry Point, whether it was in it or anywhere in the vicinity of an archaeology site, would require an archaeology study, which again is cost, time delay, and may discourage future development, even development that we might want. And then the last bullet is, are there any other things that the commission might want to comment on that I didn't bring up? You have the text. And if the answer to all of those is no, you don't want to comment at all, let me know, and I will make no further comment to the county council, and we'll be neutral on this issue.
I'm really opposed to limiting our industrial areas in Whatcom County. They're limited quite a bit now. And I'm also opposed to not creating more living wage jobs, and I think our refineries have done that. Industrial jobs are more above living wage jobs, and I would like to not limit our refineries on their expansion in any way. And any industrial land out there, I would like to keep it that way and keep it with the opportunity to bring big business into our area. So I'm in favor of those living wage jobs, and there's no better job around here than the refineries. So I wouldn't want to limit at all what the expansion or retention of those jobs. In fact, I'd like to enhance them.
So Commissioner Briscoe, you have any thoughts right now?
It's interesting, the number of emails, and I had a few phone calls with folks who were concerned about what the port's position was on a place we really don't have any authority over. But I think that I believe we've been asked to weigh in on this. I think we should weigh in on this. How we come to decisions amongst the three of us, I'm not quite sure how we're going to do that, seeing how we can't talk outside of the public meeting, so it's going to be difficult. So I don't know. I believe the 12th, they said, is their input, public input again, and I don't think we meet until, I believe, the 19th again. So this is something that's going to be difficult for us to come to a decision on, but I can give my feelings on some of these at this point in time. I believe, starting from the top, the first bullet, should we plan to recognize the importance of Cherry Point? I believe yes on that one for myself. And I believe number 2 is correct also. We should do that. The 4th and 5th pier, I personally, I've never been in favor of putting another pier there. I don't know that you can do that without some sort of environmental issues. But you never say never. But I'm not so. I don't know. As Sylvia says, if you want to put that hard in writing, that you can't change that at some point in time if some new technologies or something arises that we can use to do things without environmental damage. And number 4 is, I had written some notes down on that, and when I was reading through, and I was kind of shocked that the Whatcom County would feel that the oil refined at Cherry Point is ours and ours only. That oil is deserved by all the people in the United States of America to use it, regardless of what state they live in. I don't think we have enough oil refineries, major refineries left to take care of the needs of the future, probably. So they're probably going to have to upgrade or increase our output at some point in time. Hopefully not. We'll find other alternative things to use. But to say that the oil refined there can only be used for consumption in the state of Washington, I don't stand for that. I'm not in favor of that bullet at all. The prohibit of future bulkheads at Cherry Point, I think that's going to fall under the probably the jurisdiction of the Army Corps of Engineers, so it's going to revert back to number 1. The first bullet we spoke about is, I don't know that I agree with prohibition of all future bulkheads because we don't know what that is at that point in time. I think that needs to come on maybe a case-by-case basis, and certainly all the parties involved, the Coast Salish people and the Whatcom County people, would make those decisions. And I don't think it would be proper to make a prohibition of something, 100% at this point in time. As far as the study, which comes to me as we're always doing studies, and it would be really, really nice if for that area, if there was one study done that covered everything you wanted to develop there, what you can do and can't do, or the implications. So doing a study every time you want to do a project seems like a waste of money and time to me. That's where I stand on that one. I feel, yes, a study is going to have to be done, but I would want to see one done that takes care of a number of things there, a number of development projects that may arise. It would cover kind of everything. So that's kind of where I stand on those things, be it good or bad.
Excuse me, Bobby, where were you on the bulkheads? I'm sorry.
I don't want to see a 100% prohibition for all time on future bulkheads at Cherry Point, because what does a future bulkhead mean? I don't know what that means. how about if we have ocean rise and we need to put a bulkhead up there to protect the beach or not the beach so much as or the land behind it or what's there. You know, I'm not sure what they're speaking to when they're talking about bulkheads. So where I stand on it, Dan, is I don't believe we should prohibit all future bulkheads because we don't know what we need there.
Yeah, I
and it may be something that works for everybody.
Is that it right now?
Yes.
All right, so has the county council hasn't, well, actually, I should ask Rob. I don't believe we've been formally asked by the council to weigh in on this comp plan update.
No, you haven't.
Right.
You haven't. I've actually been weighing in for the last several meetings on the economic development chapter because we briefed you on that, the county was proposing that they spend $1 million creating a new organization and take the ADO status away from the port. So I've been weighing in on this. This issue came up. I saw a lot of traffic on it. I thought, well, that's even a more important issue impacting economic development than who's the ADO and how much money do we spend if we take away our industrial area. So I'm the one that brought this up and I'm bringing it to you. The county council hasn't.
And they would probably, you said the 12th, they would like comment?
The 12th, they said at least until the 12th. There was a lot of public. There was probably 40 or 50 people that commented this morning, a lot of them asking for more time. So they said they're going to continue it to the 12th. They may send it back to the Planning Commission. They may even table it for a year. They said they're going to table it at least until the 12th.
Okay, so Commissioner Briscoe and Commissioner Robbins, this port in 2010, help me with this, Diane, if you would. You were looking for documents. It was June of 2010, and we'll share this with everybody so everybody gets a chance to see it. Wrote a letter of support signed by Commissioner Briscoe.
Sorry, for some reason I was cut off.
All right, you're back. Okay.
Commissioner McCullough, you just started to say Commissioner Robbins when the
okay.
phone went dead.
So in 2010, this commission sent a letter of support, concern, etc. regarding Cherry Point. I want to make sure that that's available for everybody. That's the last word that the Port of Bellingham put in officially from the commissioners. I want to make sure folks have that. It's from 2010, June. I do think it's appropriate for us to weigh in. We are all three, I was there 6 months at the time, but we all three are new. We may have a different position or want to make an update to what was said in 2010. And did you stick that out, Diane? Is that what it was? I don't believe you haven't sent, Diane, I'm asking this question to Diane right now, Bobby. You haven't sent that to anybody yet, is that correct, Diane? Okay, so make sure we get these copies out to the other commissioners so you folks can see it. But I don't know if we're going to be able to get something done by the 12th that's of any substance. And I know that you have limited access where you are, Bobby, but if you two would like to try to get some letter together regarding any individual points or just a general statement in support. This port was instrumental, I think, Dan, you may remember this, I'm sure, Bobby, you do, was instrumental in getting some of that Cherry Point industry out to Cherry Point way back in the day, I think before I was even born. So I think this port has had a long history of supporting the Cherry Point industrial activities out there. So if we want to weigh in on it, I think today would be the right time to say let's weigh in on it because they'll want something by the 12th. And
you may have more time if you want.
Sure. So Commissioner Briscoe, are you interested in trying to get something together by the 12th with the two of us?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it would be nice if they could give us a little more time, but we certainly could try and put something together by the 12th. I've got fairly good access to everything here all the time, so getting something to me shouldn't be a problem. But we've been asked. I have been asked personally that the commission weighs in, so I would say yes. I think we need to speak to that.
All right. Commissioner Robbins?
Sylvia, I don't know if you're keeping score there, but I thought on item 2, Bobby and I agreed. On item 4, we agreed. On item 5, we agreed. And on item 6, we agreed. Is that how you heard it?
Pretty much, yes.
So if you want to weigh in, Commissioner McCauley, it'll give us a start to craft something.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the only chance we're publicly going to be, we're going to be able to discuss it between ourselves.
So, Sylvia, these are the 7 points that you pulled out that seem to be of significance, but these weren't 7 points that the council asked us to weigh in on.
These were 7 points that I pulled out of the changes that the county council was considering, yes.
Okay.
So these are all issues that are before them, and those were the most significant, knowing that it was new business and that you wouldn't have much time. I didn't want to put 20 on there.
There must be a web a page online that we can see all of these
Yeah,
items?
you have it. Diane sent it to you on July 1st, and I will send it to you again if you would like.
Didn't the
Was it,
update?
no, June 30th
Yeah,
or July 1st?
it went out in a
Yeah.
separate email on Friday, so it was
Right.
its own item on Friday in your email boxes.
Okay, all right.
I'll forward it again to you in the morning if you wish.
Yeah, so rather than just stick to these 7, Dan, because I don't, if you two are agreeing on those, I don't think I'd have
Right.
much heartache on it either, but I would like to make sure that if there's another item outside of these 7, that we take a quick look at that as well and
I
maybe
think one thing we
include-
can all agree on, that job creation and retention are one of the goals of the port, and I think all three of us buy into that.
Jim?
And so
Absolutely.
I think that's a great start.
So that's the second bullet. And what I heard two of you say, that you would not want to see a prohibition of exporting oil outside of the state. That was,
Commissioner McCauley said, did I misunderstand you? Did you say you agreed with Bobby and I on what we both agreed on?
I would say probably don't disagree, but I want to dig into these
Okay.
deeper.
I actually do think the county council, when they discuss this on the 12th, is going to find that they're having a lot more input than they really expected, and that they'll probably extend the comment period. So I expect that you'll have time to discuss this at your next meeting, because I
Does the
can't.
group want
Yeah.
them to kick the can down the road, so to speak?
You could ask for a further extension of the time frame.
I would ask that we do that amongst my fellow commissioners. I would suggest that we do that if they truly want some thought about input from us, and give us a little bit of time to digest what's being put forward by Mr. Weimer here. I think we should ask for more time.
Okay.
I'd agree.
Then our next meeting will be the 19th.
And then not again until late August.
I for one, can definitely read the information. I have the information Diane forwarded there on Friday. I have that, and I can certainly look through that and form my opinions by the 19th.
So I think we could send a letter to the county council, the president of the council, and ask them if they could extend it a bit so we can weigh in as a commission, given the limitations that we have with our meeting schedules, and maybe offer some additional advice on direction for them.
You're making the assumption that that would be after August 19th.
July 19th.
July 19th. Well, we would be after the 12th, so.
We have a meeting on July 19th.
Yes.
Then we don't have another meeting till the end of August.
Yeah, I think we should have something wrapped up by the 19th, just to be fair to their process. The 12th is a little rushed, but
Yeah, you could take action tonight to request that they continue the discussion beyond July 19th, to give you time to have input.
yeah.
Hearing from the commission is that they would like staff to request time.
All right. We can kick this around, so we want to make a formal.
We'll add this to the agenda for the 19th, and we'll ask for some time.
And I would just, the commission, they have a meeting on the, I had it here.
12th.
It's a committee meeting on the 12th.
It's the 26th of July, after your meeting on the 19th, and then the 9th of August. And I remember that you typically don't meet at the end of August, so I would not, I think you should ask and maybe suggest a date, and you might suggest, my own, it's not a legal issue, but you might suggest September, because meetings in August are very poorly attended at the county council meeting, is the history.
All right, it's good input. Okay, so we'll write a letter asking to extend the public comment period on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the update on that, Sylvia. Do you have anything further?
I don't.
All right, so these are questions I'm going to ask randomly of staff about the waterfront process right now. Some clarifications on things. So Rob probably answered this one. So the property point, I think 6.3 acres was sold to Harcourt with the granary on it for $200,000. Okay, in our agreement, they had 10 days to make that payment, and that didn't happen. And there's a follow-up to that, by the way. Can you explain why the delay on the payment for that?
Well, I don't have enough concrete reason for the delay. The payment was made within a couple of months. I think everyone knew that we were going to have, at that time, everyone had figured out we were going to have trouble transferring the title because of certain other problems. So no one really got too concerned about a payment.
Okay, and that was the second, the follow-up question is, can you describe what happened with the process with the transferring of the title and how that delay happened?
Mm-hmm. So the biggest problem we have with transferring the title is there's a covenant on the property because of the environmental restrictions associated with the property, and we could not get Ecology to buy off on doing an individual restriction for the granary building. They wanted to do one for what they considered to be that whole environmental site. Eventually, they agreed to do an individual restriction for that property, but that was a recent thing. Will only happen in the last couple of weeks.
In order to even transfer a title, we had to create a lot of records.
Correct.
That's correct.
That's correct.
And we got that done on time, or
we couldn't create the lot without the covenant.
But to Harcourt's credit, they made the payment without the deed, did they not?
Yes, they had. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. A question about Western Crossing's development plan. So the last time we talked, I brought up the issue of Western Crossing not having the development plan by 2015, December of last year, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Have you talked to any Western Crossing's entities since then about that issue?
Steve Swan and I have had a conversation about it. I don't know that I have any resolution right now, but we've talked about it, and he's aware.
All right. Because Harcourt has asked to use, and they've had their eyes on that property for some time, but has asked Western to vacate a portion of it, I definitely think that we would be following a prudent path forward if we knew exactly what Western was planning, so we don't end up just keep bouncing Western around.
I think Western has said that they are going to develop those plans in the future. I don't think they want to develop those plans right now because they know that they don't have the funding in place to act on those plans. So what they don't want to do is develop a plan, be hold to it, and then say they've got a better one later.
Well, I like I'm looking at the Bellingham Municipal Code. It's 20.37.410, and it's section B3. It discusses institutional mixed use. I really like the language of that. It really works with what Western wants, but it doesn't lock Western into a specific geographic location.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that we should try really hard to stick with the intent of that and what Western was hoping to get out of their institutional mixed-use land.
What was that section again?
It's 20.37.410 B3.
E3?
B as in Bravo. And it's a short paragraph about what institutional mixed use is.
410. 20.37.410.
It is, yes, it's in the urban, it's chapter 20.37, which is urban villages, and then there's a waterfront one. There's also one for Samish Way and others.
We'll take a look at that.
So I think that's.
Can you read that one? Is it only one paragraph?
Oh, I'll read it to you. It's maybe 80 words. So institutional mixed use, the waterfront district institutional mixed use and commercial mixed use designations are like land use designations, with the exception that institutional mixed use is intended to accommodate higher educational institutions and similar institutional uses or business campuses as the primary use. Building placement within such campuses in the institutional mixed-use subzone may be in accordance with an adopted master plan prepared for the campus area. I think that gets to the intent of Western Crossing's development plan in that particular sentence. With an adopted plan prepared for the campus area. Research facilities, offices, retail, recreation, business, and personal services and residential uses are also encouraged within the district to complement and support the institutional or business campus uses. So again, I really like what that language says, but it also seems pretty specific to about the area. I'm out of order, but I'm going to go down here. Just below that, in the municipal code, there's a figure, and it's 20.37.410-A. And I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of everybody. Is it possible, Sylvia, to grab that online and show?
It's possible. It's more than I am.
Okay, so I'll start talking, and maybe Brian, if you have a question, just interrupt me. So I've noticed that we have a master plan, we have Harcourt's vision plan in their master development agreements. We have the initial RFP plan that Harcourt sent when we went out for the RFP in 2013, when that happened. And there's a difference in how those look. My screen just went black. Sorry, everybody.
Is that the?
Is it this one here, Mike?
Yes, okay, thank you for that. Okay, if you notice on that, you see the purple shaded area. That was quick, Brian, thank you. The purple shaded area is the institutional mixed use. The pink is the commercial mixed use. And then the gray where it says Log Pond and Log Pond Drive, we've got, about almost 7-8 acres wrapping around the purple there, but clearly in the gray area that we've set aside for Harcourt's future expansion. This image doesn't match ours. So have we reconciled with the city's zoning boundaries in regards to this versus what we've agreed to with Harcourt?
When we adopted the Harcourt Master Development Agreement, we were all aware of that, and I think the thought at that time was within the industrial area, there are a lot of research and development buildings. There are even commercial uses that are allowed within the industrial, and the Master Development Agreement says very clearly that Harcourt will adopt or will propose projects that are consistent with the zoning, or it will be up to Harcourt to work with the port and the city to amend the plan. So I believe that was their thinking at the time, is that they wanted that board mill, they wanted to be able to move Western over, and that all of those would require either sticking with the existing zoning or modifying the zoning. And I think we were all aware of it and discussed it at the time. But no, it hasn't been changed. The city does not want to change the plan or the zoning until that first building is substantially under construction, which it is. So now is the time for us to be discussing between the port, Harcourt, and the city whether we want to change the plan or not.
Sure. Thank you for saying that, because this is exactly why I've been bringing this up the last couple of meetings. So in the Master Development Agreement, we have Exhibit A, which shows the agreed upon master plan. Exhibit B is Harcourt's vision plan, which is different than the agreed upon waterfront plan that we have between the port and the city of Bellingham. The master development agreement also anticipates that the vision being different is something that all parties can discuss moving forward, which is what you just said. The opening, or I guess to say that the first go at this movement forward towards Harcourt's vision is changing the focus from Granary Avenue and Blodell to just building out Granary Avenue over to Laurel. If their intent is to get closer to their vision, then I definitely think that we have to have a conversation with Harcourt's owners and see, is that really where they want to go, which is closer to their RFP from 2013, or are they still comfortable working towards what we see in Exhibit B of the Master Development Agreement? And if those need to be reconciled with each other, or they have more intent to go with their RFP purpose, then we clearly have to start these processes with the city to get these things lined up for Harcourt. I don't want to leave Harcourt hanging so that they don't have a solid understanding that the area around the purple shaded here is exactly what they're going to need as they grow. And certainly with this conversation about the board mill, we definitely have to adjust some zoning and some wording in the agreements between the port and the city, and maybe even between the port and Harcourt. Although it seems like the master development agreement anticipates some of these changes and doesn't really create a problem. So I definitely want to keep moving on that and see where the city is and what we have to figure out to reconcile all the agreements and make sure that they're in line, and also recognizing that Harcourt may want to go in a somewhat different direction than the master development agreement, which really covers a lot of the future work, but in my mind, it's really just focused on the first two buildings, and then a conversation ensues from there. So,
In that same vein, if I may?
Yes, please.
Commissioner, I think it's important that we see how we could get to yes on Harcourt's request. What would yes look like to you and Commissioner Briscoe? I think it's important that we come up with something that would be a yes. And I think that's the direction you're kind of going.
That's exactly it, and that's why I mentioned
And I
the
appreciate
institutional
that.
mixed-use zoning again. I think that there was a lot of thought and effort put into that. It's the kind of thing that's it's just job creation focus. I know that at a city club meeting last year, there was presentation. Rob, you were there presenting. The mayor was there. Dave Christensen, local architect, was there. And the message I hear from, and thank you, Rob, for presenting this, but I hear from Rob and from Mayor Linville is about this job creation. So the institutional mixed use, I think, is a fantastic way forward. And then also incorporating the needs of Western. So I really like that. So in the context of the board mill being part of a conference center in the institutional mixed-use area, I like that concept. I think one can support the other. But I definitely want to see a better, more fleshed out future than just the drawing we've seen from the architect John Reed so far. So that we make sure that we are going to go down that road towards that institutional mixed use, and it's not just a standalone project. So the deadline, okay, insurance. This is a question about the master development agreement, section 16.7, and I should have warned you I was going to do this to you, Rob. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Section 16.7 in the master development agreement discusses insurance, but you can probably just answer this question. First sentence, Harcourt shall maintain and keep in force insurance covering all aspects of the construction, et cetera. And then section 16.7.1, builders all risk comprehensive coverage. 7.2, commercial general liability. 7.3, property insurance, and then 7.4, just insurance policies in general. Do we have copies of all of this here?
I requested those last week in an email to Pat Power, so hopefully we'll have those shortly.
Okay. So because things are moving, and I think it's good. It's a good opportunity right now to go back and look at the master development agreement and say, okay, so the granary is moving forward, but we have an issue with the state agency about even giving them a deed. So I think it's really worthwhile taking a look at this MDA and making sure that everything is perfectly squared away. And again, this is just going to help Harcourt.
Yep. Agreed.
So there's nothing tripping them up and slowing them down. So,
yep.
That's probably it for today on my comments. We're sure we'll be hearing more as we go along. But and one thing I would like to ask Rob, if you could get something from Pat because I know John can't speak on behalf of, John Reed can't speak on behalf of Harcourt. So if we could get a conversation going with Pat about sort of the longer-term vision and what we need to sort of connect between where they're going and really where we're at right now, that would be fantastic. I know that there's not a lot of love for the Commercial Street Green project and the bridge connecting that between the existing commercial and down through to the former GP properties. There's various levels of joy about doing that in the future, and clearly you can see on all of Harcourt's visions, they don't include that. So if we can get some things ironed out now, then I think that helps them also flesh out some things they might be able to do in the next few years.
I was considering a work study with Pat Power present in the room with you all on September 6th. Now, it's the day after Labor Day. Just like today's the day after holiday, we're having another commission meeting after a holiday. But does that sound like something that would help move along the second project? I was anticipating that conversation would be around the second project.
Commissioner Briscoe, you've been kind of quiet. Are you still there?
Yeah, no, I'm still here. I have a comment when you're through, but I'm just letting on what you spoke to. But
the question about the day after Labor Day, which is September.
No,
13th?
I had something to weigh in on what you spoke to, Mike.
We have a commission meeting that day on the 6th.
So it's the 6th?
It's September 6th.
Are you available in town on the 6th of September?
Yes, I will be home.
Okay, great. All right. Perfect. Yeah.
That certainly works for me, and I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
I believe so too. I'd like to sit down and discuss things with them. Something I'd like to kind of interject and weigh in on your comments about the board mill and so on and so forth, Mike. At last meeting, I think people misunderstood where I was at on Harcourt being allowed to do something as a project with the motor mill building. I'm not opposed to that. I just wanted more information. I wanted to define what we're doing with Western Crossing, and as you just said, how we're going to get to all these things. It's pretty hard for me to make a decision. I've received emails and a phone call. People were upset that I was throwing, if you will, a log in front of the train to stop it. That's not where I was going. I want things to be made very clear on exactly what we're doing and how we're moving ahead and where we're doing it at. And I was unclear to that, and that's why I spoke the way I did. People thought I was trying to stop progress down there. That's the furthest thing from my mind. Things need to keep going and keep moving ahead. So I just wanted to be clear on that.
All right, thank you for that. I don't have anything further. Commissioner Briscoe, anything further?
No.
All right, Commissioner Robbins?
No, nothing further. I just appreciate the fact that we're trying to get to yes for them, because it's really important.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And I thank both the commissioners for considering that.
Rob, nothing? Legal? Tamara? Senior staff? Members of the public? All right, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming today.